Title: The Tmall Elf Queen Who Wears the School Grass. Author: Lin Ounce. Copywriting: Campus plus cute things equals sweet pet. If you compare life to God throwing a dice, then Liu Yunfei feels that he is a 6. Good looking, only English is a serious subject. Until he knew about Bian Jinyuan was tall and long with cold face. He was the first in grade every time, and his English score was even better than Liu Yunfei. If he is 6, then this guy is simply 666. Since Shenfei He Sheng Yuan, a mountain cannot tolerate 2 tigers, unless there is a male and a female. Liu Yunfei looked at the gender of the other person, and silently crossed it. However, not long after he made Bian Jinyuan his opponent, he was surprised to find that after 9 o'clock in the evening, he would inexplicably wear Bian Jinyuan's Tmall elves. After entering the Tmall elf, Liu Yunfei discovered that his opponent was actually a poor nobleman. The rich and handsome Liu Yunfei looked at the money that was about to overflow from his card, and decided to give play to his classmates' love. Therefore, Bian Jinyuan was short of money, and Liu Yunfei asked him to be an English tutor. Bian Jinyuan bought the cake and was reluctant to leave it to his family. Liu Yunfei gave him a big cake the next day. Every day is good. Liu Yunfei feels that the invisible red scarf on his chest is more vivid. Until the school forum published a hot post: "Fuck Liu Yunfei, let the first grader be a bull for you. I really feel that I have too stinky money and it is great, right?" The main building lists a variety of deeds: carrying bags, receiving water, peeling chestnuts, and a generation of scholars who are called by Liu Yunfei like servants. Everyone was eating melons, and saw that Bian Jinyuan, who had never spoken in the forum, spoke for the first time under his real name. "Bian Jinyuan, I don't need money, I am willing, can I manage it?" Everyone was scared to death. Liu Yunfei wondered if he should have less trouble before Jinyuan. "No need, I like to be troubled by you." "Forget it." Liu Yunfei refused. Bian Jinyuan thought for a while, "Then let me put it another way, no need, I like you." "Liu Yunfei?" Liu Yunfei didn't expect that the mountain was big, and there were all kinds of tigers. 2 male tigers could not only run fast, but also fall in love. Content tag: Fantasy Space Rich Family Suite. When campus search keywords: protagonist, Liu Yunfei, Bian Jinyuan. Supporting role, column wearing the school's rival wearing the book for collection. Others, Lin Ounce, sweet pet equals 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 equals. Liu Yunfei looked at the monthly ranking table on the wall, staring at the English score column, and looking at the black song TI 574 in disbelief. 74. 74. It was 84 last time, why is it 74 this time? Liu Yunfei almost didn't vomit a mouthful of blood. He glanced up tremblingly, and saw the English column of Bian Jinyuan, clearly printed with 148. Hold! This is up. 148, dare to love only the composition deducted 2 points. Is this human? This Bian Jinyuan must be a foreigner. Liu Yunfei got a headache with anger. When he thought of lighting up the night battle until 1 o'clock in the morning, he worked so hard to read the words, but ended up only 74. Liu Yunfei felt hopeless in this life. He probably didn't have a point when he was born. Bright English talent, so when everyone was worried about lit song, he was the only one who launched the horn of charge to English, and he repeatedly defeated and defeated. Liu Yunfei felt that his requirements were really not high. He just wanted to score 90 in the test. If the score is not high, just pass. Otherwise, he failed the entire rocket class, and he seemed to stand alone in the crowd, so that every time the English teacher looked at him, his eyes would be extremely complicated. Liu Yunfei sighed, and the classmate next to him patted him on the shoulder. "Awesome, Yunfei, Math 147, you are too awesome." Liu Yunfei smiled at him perfunctorily, and then glanced at his ranking, 20 in the class and 51 in the grade. This ranking is considered middle and upper in the class. After all, except for his natural lack of English, his other grades are among the best. Mathematics and science can be ranked first and second in the class. Oh, now there is no one, only second. Thinking of this, Liu Yunfei raised his eyes again and glanced at Bian Jinyuan's Mathematics 149. Hold! Is this a human? 149. Why doesn't he take the 150 directly? Liu Yunfei was furious. His math and theory scores were a bit lower than that of Bian Jinyuan during the placement test. This time he carefully reviewed and carefully checked the exam, and the result was still lower than that of Bian Jinyuan. Liu Yunfei felt that he needed to stay away from this ranking table. This is a ranking table. This is clearly an electrocardiogram test chart. He looked at it again and estimated that his heartbeat would tend to infinitely be in a straight line. He Shen Fei, he Sheng Yuan. He is the last one in English, so he relied on math and science to find a place. The result is now better. The last one is still the last one, and the first one is positive but not the first one anymore. Up. He said that he and Bian Jinyuan are not in harmony with the 5 elements, and the character is violent. The two of them shouldn't be put into the same class. Liu Yunfei turned angrily, preparing to return to his seat, but when he turned around, he found that Bian Jinyuan was standing behind him at some point. Liu Yunfei was startled and took a step back subconsciously, almost stepping on the feet of the classmates behind him. Fuck, Liu Yunfei, don't squeeze, I haven't seen how many I am. Who the wants to squeeze you? Liu Yunfei spit out in his heart if conditioned reflex does not understand. He was wondering whether he should push away the crowd and go out, when he saw Bian Jinyuan lowered his eyes to look at him, then gave way to the side, and raised his eyes again to look at the score table not far away. Is this disdain? The villain in Liu Yunfei's heart jumped violently. This act of slowly looking at him and then looking away is disdainful. The first grade is amazing. However, the first grade is great, Liu Yunfei thought. If he was the first in grade, he would probably not understand how anyone in this world would fail English. Alas, Bian Jinyuan's English score is twice that of his own, twice. Liu Yunfei felt desperate. He even wanted to ask Bian Jinyuan, "Brother, how did you learn English? Can you teach me?" However, in fact, Liu Yunfei really has no shortage of English tutors. No one believes it. But as a standard rich second generation, Liu Yunfei had English tutors when he was in elementary school. When he was in junior high school, he even got a full score of 120. Under the circumstances, a good score of 115 in the exam. Then, the score of 115, as the apex of the parabola, opened his path to decline. In the end, it could only be maintained at around 80 points. Liu Yunfei felt that the worst thing he felt was that even if he failed the test close to passing 89, it was 16 points worse than 74, and he was much more decent. He raised his eyes and glanced at Bian Jinyuan. Bian Jinyuan was very tall. Liu Yunfei quietly looked at him and estimated that he should be around 1.85 meters. Therefore, he could see his ranking clearly without squeezing to the front. Of course he can see it clearly. After all, he is the number 1, the top one on the entire ranking list. Liu Yunfei became more upset at the thought of this place, so even if Bian Jinyuan had already given way to him, he still stretched out his hand to dial Bian Jinyuan aside and walked out. Li Yuanqing was lying on the table reading the comics, and seeing Liu Yunfei coming back, he looked at his expression, and said unsure, "Failed again." Liu Yunfei glared at him dissatisfiedly, "Can you speak? Shut up if you can't speak. It shouldn't be." Li Yuanqing took a bookmark and put it in the comic book, and said in disbelief, "Didn't you review before the exam? How could you fail?" Liu Yunfei snorted coldly, "Which time I did not review before taking the English test, which time did I pass the English test? But this review has reached a point." "Yeah, so last time it was 84, this time it was 74, it's too ironic. Where is Jinyuan over there? 148. Lu Yunfei knocked on the table angrily, is he a human officer? Can a normal person take the exam so high? Do you think Bian Jinyuan is a foreigner? Or a mixed race? Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing felt that his good brother was probably mad. Bian Jinyuan was handsome, but he had a half-cent relationship with the mixed race, so he forced the mixed race. Forget it, don't think about it, this guy is not 1 or 2 days old, don't care. If you take the English test 74, you won't mind it. Lu Yunfei said, and glanced irritably in the direction of Bian Jinyuan's seat. Write papers. Li Yuanqing, have you noticed that Bian Jinyuan seems to have no extracurricular hobbies, either doing homework or reading? Lu Yunfei said with a hand. Li Yuanqing recalled the only few contacts he had with Bian Jinyuan, and was surprised to find that, it's fine if you don't say it, it seems that this is the case. Then he worked hard, no wonder he was able to take the 148th exam. Li Yuanqing thinks it makes sense, that's true. After all, you have to read comics, watch anime, play games, and play basketball 24 hours a day in addition to class and homework. Fuck, is this the reason? You either try to quit all of this, see if you can make up the English. Do you think I haven't tried it? It's useless at all. To die is to test repeatedly on the verge of passing, and always fail to test. Lu Yunfei desperately said, this is my calamity. If I survive this calamity, King Bei is just around the corner. They were talking, Li Yuanqing suddenly motioned to Lu Yun to fly to Bian Jinyuan to look. Lu Yunfei turned his head and saw a girl in the class was standing at Bian Jinyuan's table with a paper, seeming to be asking him a question. You said Bian Jinyuan would tell her. Li Yuanqing asked in a low voice. Lu Yunfei replied without thinking, no. After all, since he was in the same class with Bian Jinyuan, he never saw Bian Jinyuan talk to anyone. The girl was looking at his face, one by one after the other was very happy, but Bian Jinyuan couldn't bear to look at each other, but said, I don't have time, you go find someone else. He has always been a cold face, and he doesn't respond to anyone, except when he is called up by the teacher to answer questions in class, he doesn't say anything at all. This is also very consistent with his personality. Sure enough, it was the same this time. Lu Yunfei looked at the girl who was standing at Bian Jinyuan's table with his back to him, and soon left. Bian Jinyuan still lowered his head, the black gel pen dangling, without any pause. This is a reading machine. Li Yuanqing said, commonly known as a nerd, but he doesn't look like a nerd. Lu Yunfei didn't think it was. Compared to a nerd, Bian Jinyuan seemed to be too lazy to talk to them and felt unnecessary. He should be quite arrogant, Lu Yunfei thought, but his arrogance is normal. At noon, Li Yuanqing had something to go home. Lu Yunfei wanted to finish the last question and go to lunch, but only halfway through the question, he felt overcast in front of him. As soon as he looked up, he found his friend Wen Minji was looking at him depressed. Can I eat first? I'm hungry. Lu Yunfei took out a packet of biscuits from the bag and handed it to him, you eat this mat first. Give me 3 minutes. I'm almost done. Wen Minji sighed, and while unpacking the biscuits, he said in a tone, 3 minutes, a nap is not enough Lu Yunfei. Lu Yunfei silently lowered his head and continued to calculate the problem, but his mind was full of that well-known advertisement. What can he do in 3 minutes? When Lu Yunfei finished his last question, Wen Minji ate his biscuits. He shook the biscuits bag in his hand, is this dry garbage or wet garbage? Do you think it belongs to pigs, or do pigs eat them? Where's the dead? Lu Yunfei said speechlessly, we haven't started garbage sorting yet, you don't need to know so much. Wen Minji said calmly, sooner or later you need to know, I call it a rainy day. Liu Yunfei ignored him, cleared his desk, and walked out of the classroom with him. Wen Minji didn't eat the food in the school cafeteria, so the two went to an alley not far from the school where there was a lot of delicious food. By the time he came back from the meal, it was a little over a bit. Liu Yunfei carried a Rujiamo and Wen Minji to the classroom. When he reached the second floor, Liu Yunfei suddenly thought of something, and stopped. There is no drinking fountain in our class. Water is up, I have to go to the cafeteria to buy a bottle of water. Just go to our class and pick it up. But I want a drink. Liu Yunfei honestly said, you go back first. I'll go to the cafeteria to buy water. Do you want anything? No, I'll go now. Yet. After Liu Yunfei finished speaking, he turned and went down the stairs, and walked slowly to the cafeteria. At the end of September, when it was still very hot, Liu Yunfei ordered a bottle of ice coke and took the meat sandwich in his hand out of the cafeteria. When passing by the abandoned auditorium next to the canteen, Liu Yunfei vaguely heard the quarrel. He didn't care, but he seemed to hear Bian Jinyuan's name vaguely. Liu Yunfei stopped unconsciously, turned and walked to the back of the auditorium. No students know when this auditorium was built, just as no students know when it was abandoned. The students only know that this auditorium is slowly being filled with creepers, and their appearance seems to cover up the appearance of the auditorium with the past. And Liu Yunfei knew that sometimes boys would make appointments in the open space behind this auditorium. When he walked around the corner with Coke and Rujiamo, he saw Bian Jinyuan facing him and the 5 people standing around him. Bian Jinyuan still looked indifferent. The person in the lead choked a few words with him, and when he saw that he was unmoved, he started angrily on the spot. Liu Yunfei cautiously hid in the corner and watched Jinyuan pick 5, assessing that based on this strength gap, he shouldn't need to make a move. However, he was watching and saw that a person behind Bian Jinyuan silently took out a folding fruit knife. Hold! Also bring Yin to play. Liu Yunfei tossed the coke in his hand, and when the opponent approached Bian Jinyuan, he raised his hand and threw the coke out. The other party was unpreparedly hit by the coke on this day. A moment of confusion, the others instantly looked in the direction where Liu Yunfei was. Liu Yunfei walked out with a smile, and stretched out his hand to say hello to them. Hi, classmate, midday exercise, add me. When Bian Jinyuan saw Liu Yunfei, he rarely frowned. He remembered Liu Yunfei, a man with a surprisingly partial subject. Before Bian Jinyuan even met him, he couldn't believe that there would still be people who would fail a single subject in the rockets class except for physics, of course. However, Liu Yunfei is surprisingly good in general. The physical and chemical students are all in the top 3 of the grade, but he can only test 70 to 80 points in English. Bian Jinyuan has seen his scores and feels that as long as he can reach the average level of his English in the test, he can easily enter the top 10. It's a pity, he thought, but it has nothing to do with him. Liu Yunfei felt strange when he saw him frowning. Did this guy also have this expression? It seemed more pleasing to the eye in an instant. Before he had time to walk over and join the battlefield, the person who had been hit by him with a coke rushed towards him with a knife. Bian Jinyuan reacted quickly with eyesight, and directly stretched out his hand to grab his collar and went back. He kicked the opponent fiercely, and flew towards Liu Yun with a cold voice, "There is nothing to do with you here, get out." Liu Yunfei sneered, "Is it up to you to have my business now?" As soon as he finished speaking, 2 of the 5 people rushed towards him. The melee was on the verge of breaking out, and Bian Jinyuan didn't want his own affairs to involve his classmates, so he went fiercely and quickly solved the 3 people who were entangled with him. He was about to help Liu Yunfei. When he turned his head, he saw that Liu Yunfei was walking towards him with his hands in his pockets. Not far away were the 2 people who had just rushed towards him. Liu Yunfei bent over to pick up his coke, glanced at the people on the ground, and asked Bian Jinyuan, "Aren't these students in our school?" "No." "Hey, the school security is too dereliction of duty." I will write a letter of advice and throw it into the suggestion box when I return. Bian Jinyuan didn't speak. Lu Yunfei turned around and walked forward. After walking a few steps, he saw that Bian Jinyuan hadn't followed him, then looked back at him and said, "Go, why don't you leave? Clean up the battlefield." Bian Jinyuan just followed up. When Lu Yunfei walked to the flower bed on the corner, he picked up the rujiamo he had just placed on the flower bed. Bian Jinyuan glanced at the rujiamo in his hand calmly, and said to him when he walked out of the alley next to the auditorium, "Thank you. Didn't you just let me go?" Lu Yunfei didn't forget what he said before. Bian Jinyuan seemed to have never expected that he would say this. After a moment of silence, he whispered, "I just don't want to involve you." He thought about it, then added, "Sorry." Lu Yunfei felt that today was really a magical day. He even heard Bian Jinyuan's thanks and apologies one after another, and he didn't vain to help him fight such a fight. "Okay, I just said casually, it's okay. Let's go and go back to the classroom. Have you eaten?" Bian Jinyuan didn't want to owe Lu Yunfei a favor. "I'll invite you to dinner." Lu Yunfei shook his pork bun. "I have eaten it, this is what I bought for Li Yuanqing. Then next time you need my help if you have anything to do, you can directly contact me. I'll go to eat first, bye." After Bian Jinyuan finished speaking, he turned and walked towards the cafeteria. Lu Yunfei watched him leave, thinking that he could have anything to do with him. He shook the rujiamo on his hand and returned to the classroom. Li Yuanqing came very early, and Lu Yunfei saw him as soon as he entered the classroom. "Here you are." Lu Yunfei put the rujiamo in front of him and unscrewed the coke by himself. While Li Yuanqing was eating rujiamo, Lu Yunfei told him what had just happened. Li Yuanqing was surprised, "So you helped him? I thought you hated him." "I think he is not pleasing to the eye, but in the end it is a classmate. It is unreasonable that classmates are in trouble. I stand by." "That's true. Hey, are you playing after school in the afternoon?" Li Yuanqing asked him. "Don't fight, go back to home tutoring and learn English." Lu Yunfei said weakly. "You said I was so miserable. I have learned English like this, and I still need to learn English. Because you have learned English like this, you need to work harder, understand?" Of course Lu Yunfei understands, but he thinks he is about to have English PTSD. Now he is psychologically scared when he sees English words, and he can't wait to sneak in to respect it first. Why should people learn English? Lu Yunfei wondered, he is so rich, where can he not bring an interpreter? Besides, there are more and more Chinese speakers now, so why do you still need to learn English? Lu Yunfei was puzzled, and Lu Yunfei was desperate. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the class officially starts. The first period is math class. The math teacher Li Li of their class is also their head teacher. Li Li is in a good mood today. The difficulty of the math papers for this monthly exam is relatively high, and the students in the school have generally low scores. However, there are still 2 students in our class who are doing very well and are close to full marks. This is a good sign, and I hope you will continue to work hard this semester. At this time next year, you will be in the 3rd year of high school, so the 2nd year of high school is very important. I hope you will cherish your time and make effective use of this year to check for missing vacancies and lay a solid foundation for the college entrance examination." After Li Li finished speaking, she began to talk about the monthly examination papers. Lu Yunfei was one of the only people in the class who was close to full marks. The questions on the test papers were good, and the 3 points that were deducted were also caused by his carelessness. Therefore, Lu Yunfei is doing his homework for every class. After all, he has an English tutoring class tonight, and every time he finishes the English tutoring class, Lu Yunfei feels as if he is reborn after a catastrophe and just wants to sleep. 40 minutes arrived soon, the get-out-of-class bell rang, and Li Li unexpectedly did not drag the hall, but before leaving, she walked to Liu Yunfei's seat and said to him, "Liu Yunfei, you and me come out." Liu Yunfei was a little astonished, wondering if he hadn't listened well to the class just now and was discovered by Li Li. But it shouldn't. He also did his homework while everyone was taking notes, and he pretended to be all the same. Liu Yunfei was nervous, and felt that his math scores have always been good, and Li Li shouldn't be so indifferent to herself. He followed Li Li into the office. At this time, not all the office teachers were there. Li Li pulled a chair to let him sit down, and said in a gentle voice, "When you were in the first year of high school, I knew you." Liu Yunfei was not surprised when he heard this. Although his mathematics teacher in the first year of high school was not Li Li, his mathematics score in the first year of high school has always been the first in the class. The math teachers of the same level are in the same office, and it is inevitable to exchange the situation of the students. Knowing that he is also normal. "Your math grades are very good." Liu Yunfei smiled, "It's okay. The theory is also very good." "It's okay." Liu Yunfei said modestly. "Chinese grades are also good." So. "But your English?" Li Li considered it carefully, and finally chose a word that sounded gentle, "Not so good." Liu Yunfei paid full respect to Li Li at this moment. What a kind and considerate teacher. He used his own power to lower the average score of the whole class, and Li Li could not say so well. "Isn't this so good? This is simply too bad." Liu Yunfei honestly said, "My English is really not good. This subject is too difficult for me." Li Li understands that the teachers come from school days. Who is not partial to subjects when they go to school, but it's the first time she sees them like Liu Yunfei who is partial to subjects. "Then have you thought about how to improve it?" "I've never thought about it, Teacher Li, to tell you the truth. My family also hired a tutor. I will have English lessons when I go back tonight, but it's useless. I have seen it too, alas, I may not have the talent for English by nature." "You can't say that," Li Li comforted him, "it may also be that your English tutor is not suitable for you." Looking at Liu Yunfei, she obviously had her own plans. "I think, your peers actually communicate better than you and us as teachers, so I wondered and changed your table to the same table. What do you think of Bian Jinyuan? His English scores have been very good. You two are sitting at the same table. It happens that you can ask him if you don't know how." Liu Yunfei looked at his head teacher in shock. What did she say? Let Bian Jinyuan sit at the same table with himself? Just as Bian Jinyuan seemed to be ignorant of answering everyone, it would be weird if he could answer his own questions. Liu Yunfei felt that he knew Bian Jinyuan too well in this regard. This guy didn't have the nerve to help people answer questions, and would just say, "I don't have time, you find someone else." However, Li Li still looked at him expectantly. Even if Liu Yunfei felt that this matter was unreliable, he couldn't say anything. He could only say, "Does Bian Jinyuan agree with this matter? I will tell him." Li Li is very confident, I believe he will be very willing. However, I don't believe it, Liu Yunfei said silently in his heart. He said a few more words to Li Li, and didn't return to the classroom until the class bell rang. Li Yuanqing asked him gossiping, "What's the matter with Teacher Li telling you? Want me to change seats?" Liu Yunfei whispered. "Fuck," Li Yuanqing was shocked, "who does she want you to sit with? Who else?" Liu Yunfei glanced at Bian Jinyuan not far away. Li Yuanqing was shocked for the second time, but soon he reacted, "Yes, your English scores are too bad, but if you remove English, you can wait for the rest of the subjects. Teacher Li definitely doesn't want to give up yours. Good seedlings." Liu Yunfei sighed for a long time, "I'm afraid I can't bear this good seedling." "What are you afraid of?" Li Yuanqing urged him, "Sit at the same table. If you are unhappy, you can change it back. It's best to get points. If you can't, you won't suffer. I just don't think it is necessary." Liu Yunfei looked at him. Don't you two know him? When did he talk to others about the problem, knowing that it's useless? Why bother? That's not because you are not afraid of 10,000, but just in case. Li Yuanqing patted him on the shoulder. You only helped him at noon today. The grace of dripping water, the spring is in return, now it is his time to spring. Do you understand that Xian doesn't report it? I don't understand, I only know, pay for a report. With all due respect, this term is not used that way. Yes. As soon as Li Yuanqing finished speaking, he heard a loud female voice, Li Yuanqing, you are here to answer, why did you choose B for this question? Li Yuanqing stood up with a dazed expression, he didn't even know which question it was. Okay. Why did he choose B? He also wanted to know why B was chosen. Li Yuanqing quickly looked at Liu Yunfei. Although Liu Yunfei was chatting with him, he kept paying attention to which topic the teacher was talking about, so he whispered the reason. Li Yuanqing repeated what he said, and the teacher gave him a warning look, sit down. Li Yuanqing breathed a sigh of relief, Yunfei, I think you should either stop sitting at the same table with Bian Jinyuan. You two are sitting at the same table. What should I do if I encounter this situation again? It's not for me to decide. Liu Yunfei said indifferently, it depends on our number one, classmate Bian. You said he would promise teacher Li. Who knows? Liu Yunfei thought, it doesn't matter. If he doesn't agree, it won't change anything. If he can really help me improve my English performance, I will give him a pennant and write, rejuvenation, treat English dissatisfaction. After the second class in the afternoon, Liu Yunfei noticed that Bian Jinyuan was called out. When he came back, Bian Jinyuan did not walk directly to his seat, but walked across the podium and walked to Liu Yunfei's seat. Whispered, Liu Yunfei. Liu Yunfei raised his head to look at him, guessing that he should have come to him for changing seats. He knowingly asked, what are you doing? Ms. Li said, let you sit at the same table with me. Oh. Liu Yunfei answered calmly, did you agree? Yeah. Bian Jinyuan said, is it you or me? Unlike most high schools, the number one middle school where Liu Yunfei and Bian Jinyuan are located has a lecture hall structure. The 28 tables and chairs inside the classroom are evenly distributed in a row of 4 on the 7 steps of the class. Each step is about 0.12 meters higher than the previous steps to ensure that whether it is the first row of students or the last, the students in the platoon can see the blackboard clearly. Therefore, students do not need to worry about the invariable height when changing seats. Liu Yunfei didn't expect Bian Jinyuan to be so talkative. Not only did he agree to teacher Li's change of seats, he was also willing to change it himself. But how embarrassed he really asked Bian Jinyuan to switch over, I'll switch over. You and you talk about it at the same table, we'll switch tomorrow morning. Okay. After Bian Jinyuan finished speaking, he turned and walked to his seat. Liu Yunfei looked at his back and said with emotion, it's shocking that he actually agreed. So you are leaving me? Li Yuanqing pretended to be pitiful, it's sad. Liu Yunfei touched his dog's head, don't worry Ergu, I'm in Cao Yingzhen in Han, and I will return to Shu when my English score improves. Li Ergu distrusted him very much, I'm afraid you won't miss it when you arrive. Impossible. Liu Yunfei patted his chest, buddy, am I that kind of person? I will teach you the trick then, and we will make progress together. Li Yuanqing thought about his score of 120 in English, and said sincerely, Yunfei, you can fly by yourself, don't worry about me, 120, I am worried that this is the unbearable weight of your life. Liu Yunfei didn't want to chat with his brother for an instant, can he talk? Don't talk if you can't speak. 120 is amazing. Alas, 120 is really amazing. Liu Yunfei felt that if he could test 120, he would be excited to go downstairs to the playground and run 2 laps. More than 120, he can run 2 laps downstairs with a score of 90. But when was the last time he took the 90 test? The first half of high school? Worry, English makes people worry. Liu Yunfei finished the class, refused Li Yuanqing and Wen Minji's invitation to play, and drove home directly. Father Liu and his sister were busy, so they didn't go home. The aunt only cooked for him and cooked all the food he liked. Liu Yunfei ate a full meal, went to death generously, and walked to the guillotine at his desk, took out his English papers, and began to look at the first question in pain. The English tutor, Mr. Wang, came at 7:30. Mr. Wang was wearing a pair of gold glasses. His skin was very white, and he looked mixed. And that's why he was able to stand out from the crowd and get this job, and that's why. However, it turns out that people who seem to be of mixed blood are not necessarily of mixed blood. For example, Mr. Wang is actually a purebred Chinese, whose ancestors have been unable to find a foreign ancestry for 8 generations. Then how do you look like mixed blood? Liu Yunfei asked in a puzzled way. Teacher Wang pushed his glasses calmly. It's destined to look good, who can tell it clearly? Unexplainable. Teacher Wang still likes his rich student very much, and he tried his best to tutor and teach every word. However, when he saw the bright red 74 points on his student's scroll, he was still silent. Liu Yunfei felt that the red ink of the teacher's pen was too bright, which deeply hurt the heart of his young tutor. I tried my best. Liu Yunfei said, I have reviewed a little before the exam. Teacher Wang slowly turned his head to look at him, speaking in pain. Yunfei, tell me honestly, do you think my face deceived you, so you want to persuade me to leave in this way? Heaven and earth conscience, I really am not. When you took the placement test, it was still 84. How come I taught for a month, that's 74? Teacher Wang felt shocked. I'm a mischief. It's not your problem. Liu Yunfei comforted him. He feels that his English tutor is actually quite good, serious, and responsible, and knows a lot, but he can't bear that he is almost PTSD in English. He is scared when he sees English, his grades decline, and he is normal. Let's talk about the question first. Liu Yunfei pointed to the wrong question on his English paper. Not suitable. But how do I know what is not suitable? She doesn't say anything. Teacher Wang had no choice but to put aside his own blame for the time being and began to give Liu Yunfei the papers. He spoke very carefully, and he wanted to teach Liu Yunfei everything he knew. Liu Yunfei also listened very carefully. Why did he encounter those he didn't understand? After an hour passed, the paper was not finished, but Liu Yunfei was already very tired. Let's do this first. Liu Yunfei said. His tutoring time is not fixed, and there is no requirement that the teacher must speak for 1 or 2 hours before leaving. Most of the time, Liu Yunfei depends on his state. When his enthusiasm is high, he talks for more than 2 hours or even 3 hours. When his enthusiasm is low, it is about an hour. Teacher Wang saw that he was not very enthusiastic, so he agreed, and asked him before leaving, Yunfei, do you think there is a problem with my teaching method? Or I should change the method? Do you still have plan B? Liu Yunfei asked curiously. Teacher Wang said truthfully, I don't have it now, but I can study and study when I go back. Then you study it. Liu Yunfei said, it won't get worse anyway. It really doesn't work, you can change to another tutor. Teacher Wang clutched his conscience and reminded him with conscience. Liu Yunfei turned his pen calmly and said, let's talk about it. If his grades go down again, it is estimated that his parents will let him change his tutor. However, Liu Yunfei found it useless. He had changed almost 6 or 7 tutors since junior high school, but English was still half dead. The tutors were all good tutors, but the students were not suitable for this subject. Liu Yunfei yawned, feeling that he was unconsciously sleepy. He looked at his watch, and it was almost 9 o'clock. Why are you sleepy so early? Liu Yunfei was surprised. He took a shower with his sleepiness, and then lay down on the bed. Liu Yunfei was startled when he regained consciousness again. He looked at the cramped room in front of him, and in his ears was the little boy's soft voice, Tmall elf. Liu Yunfei didn't respond. He looked around the room in front of him. It was less than 30 square meters, neatly arranged with old but fairly clean wooden furniture. He was facing a table. From his perspective, he could see the cutting board, kitchen knives, and some pots and bowls on the table. Tmall elf. The soft voice of a child came again. Someone walked in front of him. Liu Yunfei saw a 4 or 5-year-old boy suddenly approaching him, so scared that he almost didn't take a step back, but soon he found out, he can't back up. He seems to be trapped now. Liu Yunfei tried to turn his head and look behind him, but found that he couldn't turn his head. He wanted to move and found that he couldn't move either. Damn it! What's this? Is he wicked? Liu Yunfei was thinking, but he felt that someone patted his head gently. Tmall elf, are you there? Liu Yunfei looked at the little boy in front of him. He could see the trajectory of his arm movement. He was talking to himself? Liu Yunfei couldn't believe it, so the Tmall elf he kept calling, was calling himself? Liu Yunfei's heart thumped, and he only felt that both eyes were black, and he would have GG in the next second. The little boy looked at the red Tmall elf in front of him and kept ignoring himself, and looked at his mother aggrievedly. Why doesn't it speak? My brother said, call it a Tmall elf, can it speak? How can BNG answer this question? She doesn't even know what a Tmall elf is, so she persuaded, Shuang, come here to wash your face first, and when your brother comes back, you can ask your brother why. The little boy gave a very obedient "oh" and left in front of Liu Yunfei. Upon hearing this, Liu Yunfei hurriedly learned from his own Tmall elf and shouted, I am here. As soon as he said this, he heard a crisp sound in the room, I'm here. With the mechanical sound quality of some electronic products. Damn it! I'm really the Tmall elf. Liu Yunfei felt a myocardial infarction, and he needed time to digest this fact. Upon hearing this, the little boy turned around in surprise, and ran to the red Tmall elf again, and said excitedly, you are here. Liu Yunfei replied weakly, yes, I'm here. It's just that this voice came from the Tmall elf, and it instantly turned into a full-fledged, energetic, and lovely mechanical sound. Liu Yunfei, it's all about the change of the voice, with the tone adjustment? Then why didn't you talk just now? The little boy asked softly. How should I answer this? Liu Yunfei thought for a while, learning from his own Tmall Genie, said, this question is too difficult, it's rare that I'm separated. The little boy obviously didn't understand, and asked him curiously, what is the separation of masses? Liu Yunfei. Liu Yunfei was worried about how to explain this, and he heard the little boy shouting excitedly, brother, you are back, you came back late today, but both helped you save your meal. Brother, do you know what is meant by separation of masses? Hearing this, Liu Yunfei raised his head and looked inside the house again, and he saw Bian Jinyuan walking towards the little boy in front of him. Hold! Why is Bian Jinyuan here? This is Bian Jinyuan's family? 6 hours ago, Liu Yunfei felt that his English score of 74 points was desperate. 6 minutes ago, Liu Yunfei felt that he somehow became a Tmall wizard, which is desperate, and now, Liu Yunfei feels that this is the real despair. He turned out to be Bian Jinyuan's Tmall elf. Bian Jinyuan obviously didn't understand why his younger brother would ask himself this question. He squatted down, looked at his younger brother, and said judo, separation of quality. Both nodded, pointed at the Tmall elf next to him, it said. Bian Jinyuan looked at the Tmall elf not far away, and thought for a while, thinking that he had heard the Tmall elf say in the store, this question is too difficult, it's rare that I'm separated from the nature. So he smiled and replied to his brother, it's just that he doesn't understand what you are saying, so you can ask him a different question. Shuang understood, nodded repeatedly, looked at his Tmall elf again, suddenly thought of something, and asked him, "Are you hungry?" After he finished speaking, he looked at his brother again. "Brother, is it also a cat? Does he want to eat fish too?" Bian Jinyuan touched his head. "It's not a cat, and it doesn't eat fish. It won't be hungry, just like a fan at home." "Oh." Both nodded, but the fan can't speak. So Shuang finds it fun. Both eyes gleamed and nodded fiercely. "It's fun." Seeing that he liked it, Bian Jinyuan's eyes became more tender. Liu Yunfei looked at the interaction of the brothers in front of him in shock, and felt that he seemed to be blind. Is this the Bian Jinyuan he knew? Bian Jinyuan, who is indifferent and ignorant to everyone. "I'm afraid this is a fake." Liu Yunfei couldn't help but complain. Is he actually a person who can laugh and speak so softly? Who will believe it? Seeing that he was back, Bian Ji quickly brought out the meal reserved for him and put it in the pot to start to heat up. Shuang obediently walked over to wash his face. Bian Jinyuan put down his school bag, sat down on the sofa, and took out the stationery bag and loose leaf paper. "Brother, wash his face." Both raised the towel in his hand. "Brother doesn't wash, but wash both by himself." "Oh." Bian Jinyuan watched his younger brother put the towel on the shelf again, walked over to help him re-pour hot water and let him wash his feet. Both feet were washed quickly, and the tender feet dangled twice in the basin before pulling them out. Bian Jinyuan helped him wipe his feet, and washed his feet along the way, and then poured the water. He asked Shuang to play with the Tmall elf while he sat on the sofa, put the loose leaf paper on the coffee table, took out the gel pen and started writing. Liu Yunfei craned his neck to see what he was writing. What needs to be written on loose leaf paper instead of homework? But since he is only a Tmall wizard now, it won't help how he stretches it out. Shuang touched his head and asked him softly, "Do you know how to tell a story?" "Brother, if you don't call Tmall Genie like this, just ask me questions, I can't start," Liu Yunfei thought. But he still said, "Yes." Unexpectedly, there was a meat in the room. Damn it! It seems that his true artificial intelligence is much smarter than the Tmall Genie, and it can be activated without calling Tmall Genie. Hearing what he said, Limala took a small bench and sat down in front of him. "Then you can tell me a story." Liu Yunfei. Liu Yunfei looked at Bian Jinyuan, who was working hard to write, so he dressed as a Tmall elf to help Bian Jinyuan with his children. Too cheating. Liu Yunfei felt that he should remain silent, but the little bun in front of him was looking at him expectantly with white eyes. Bian Jinyuan looks very good, and his younger brother does not look bad. The little bun has white skin and big eyes. He is carved and jade like a doll, but this doll is wearing a set of prints that have faded and washed. The whitish pajamas look like a fallen little prince. What kind of story does this young boy like? Liu Yunfei thought, but he couldn't remember it for a while. In the end, he could only tell a story about Snow White that all the children had heard. Bian Jinyuan listened to Snow White while writing the manuscript he wanted to provide to the magazine. When the story is over, he just finished writing a sentence. "Tmall elf!" Bian Jinyuan shouted. Liu Yunfei immediately cheered up. "I'm here. Tell this story again in English." Liu Yunfei. What the is this world? He has become a Tmall wizard. How can it not escape the fear of being dominated by English? Liu Yunfei said indifferently, "This question is too difficult, it's rare that I have been separated." Bian Jinyuan froze for a moment, and then reacted, probably because the data of the English version of Snow White was not saved. "Then sing an English nursery rhyme." Liu Yunfei, "This question is too difficult, it's rare that I have been separated." Bian Jinyuan thought it needed a specific track, so he thought about it and said, "Play Mary Had a Little Lamb." Liu Yunfei said calmly, "Mary has a little lamb, he's all white and fur, wherever Mary goes he always runs with." Bien Genuine. Lu Yunfei looked at him speechless, triumphant. You have Zhongliangji, I have a wall ladder, do you understand the English translation? Bien Genuine pondered that the Tmall elf in front of him estimated that there was no English data implanted when he appeared on the stage, so English songs can be sung in Chinese. No wonder Lu Ji dismissed it as artificial mental retardation and gave this Tmall wizard to herself. Speaking seriously, Bien Genuine doesn't actually know Tmall elves, and his living environment makes him have no time or money to pay attention to them. He only saw Lu Ling playing with this small red square box in the store when Lu Ling received the express. At that time Lu Ying said to him, "This is called Tmall elf, artificial intelligence." When he saw this small square box again, Lu Ling asked him disgustingly, "Do you want this stuff? What kind of artificial intelligence? It's obviously artificially retarded." "No." Bien Genuine refused. "Or take it, don't you have a younger brother? Although this stuff is silly, but it tells a story, it's just for your brother to play." When Lu Ling said that, Bien Genuine was a little shaken. He thought for a while, and finally took over the Tmall wizard. He was going to give Lu Yu the money, but Lu Yu was so angry that he patted the table and said to him, "Don't ask for it, I'll throw it away in a while, you are really going to me off." Bien Genuine was afraid that she would be really angry, so he had to accept the matter, and didn't dare to raise money. After all, Lu Ying is the owner of the cake shop where he works now. Seeing that his brother stopped talking, Shuang asked him, "Brother, what caused Mindray?" Bien Genuine listened to her immature words and said softly, "It's an English children's song. Don't Tmall elves. It doesn't seem to be." "Then brother, you sing." Hearing this, Bien Genuine was silent for a while, then sang softly, "Mary hate a little lamb his fa isois whiteus now andi very whereth that Mary went the lamb washerate ago." His English pronunciation is very good, and when he sings, there are some asterisk in the end, which sounds very magnetic. Lu Yunfei couldn't help but feel a little startled when he listened. It wasn't until both excited applause came from his ears, "Brother sang really nicely." Lu Yunfei recovered. It's okay to secretly say, "He looks handsome and learns well, and he can sing, a male god." However, Lu Yunfei looked around the house in front of him, and found that the family conditions of the male were a bit difficult, and it was not easy for a poor and noble son. After Bien Genuine finished singing, Bien Ji finally brought him the hot meal in front of him. Bien Genuine quickly cleared the table and asked Bien Ji, "Have you eaten?" "After eating, I'll wait for you. Business was good in the store today, so I came back a bit late." "It's okay, you eat quickly." Lu Yunfei noticed that Bien Ji's appearance was pretty good at her age, and the charm still existed. No wonder the two brothers are so good. The children of Shuang's Xingxing saw his brother eating, so he eagerly moved towards him. Bien Genuine took his chopsticks and fed him a few mouthfuls. Both of them covered their mouths contentedly and said, "If you don't eat, you won't eat any more. Both are full. Brother, eat." After he finished speaking, Bien Ji called him to go to bed, feeling a little bit upset, and said "Good night, brother" to Bien Genuine, and then ran to the Tmall elf and said, "Tmall elf, good night." "Good night." Lu Yunfei replied. Shuang opened the curtain and entered the room inside. Lu Yunfei couldn't see how big the room inside was, but he looked at the room in front of him that was less than 30 square meters and was full of stuff. Bien Ji went to coax her son to sleep, and for the time being, in the living room, only Bien Genuine and Lu Yunfei, who were hiding in the Tmall elf, were left. Lu Yunfei looked at Bien Genuine's expression and returned to his usual indifference at school. He quickly finished eating, washed the dishes, and then sat on the sofa to continue writing his own things. His back is straight and his sitting posture is very standard, but he doesn't even have a desk. Lu Yunfei looked at the coffee table, which was obviously not compatible with the sofa, and the very old table lamp with tape on the coffee table. His opponent was living in such an environment. Liu Yunfei felt a little embarrassed, he sighed in his heart, silently observing Bian Jinyuan not far away. After Bian Jinyuan finished writing the manuscript, he took out his unfinished homework and started writing. He goes to school during the day, works at noon and night, and sometimes needs contributions. Therefore, he is usually used to write homework between classes. He writes his homework very fast. Most of the time, he can write the answer with just a glance. When writing English homework, Bian Jinyuan rarely thought of Liu Yunfei, and also thought of what Li Li and himself said, "You can help him. I know that this stage of high school is very important to everyone, but his grades, I'm really sorry to sit back and watch like this." Bian Jinyuan is not a person who likes to waste time on other people. He is very busy. He is very busy every day. He has no time and energy to care for and help others. If you are poor, you will take care of yourself, and will help the world. Bian Jinyuan feels that he is destined to have nothing to do with the world, so he chooses to take care of himself. He refused the teacher's request to let him be the monitor, and he also refused the teacher's request that he counsel other classmates, but he did not refuse Li Li. He owed Liu Yunfei a favor. Despite the situation at the time, even if Liu Yunfei did not show up, he would be able to settle down, but Liu Yunfei helped him in the end, so he was willing to help Liu Yunfei. Liu Yunfei helped him once, and he also helped Liu Yunfei once, and then they were even, Bian Jinyuan thought. Liu Yunfei was woken up by the alarm clock. He reached out and turned off the alarm clock, sat up depressed, ready to wash his face, brush his teeth, and go to school. Wait, Liu Yunfei just stood up, but instantly realized something. He looked down at himself and then inside the house. This is his own home, so he just had a dream? Liu Yunfei went to the bathroom with uncertainty, looked at the familiar appearance in the mirror, pinched himself, and then hissed, "Fuck! It hurts." It seems that now is not a dream, so the Tmall elf was a dream last night? Then why did he dream of becoming a Tmall wizard? There is also Bian Jinyuan and his family. Liu Yunfei had this doubt in his mind, and went all the way to the classroom. Li Yuanqing had already put the breakfast he bought for him on the table. Liu Yunfei took the pancakes on the table and ate 2 bites. While eating, he drank the soy milk bought by Li Yuanqing. "Don't eat, you should change seats as a teenager," Li Yuanqing reminded him. Liu Yunfei looked at his watch, swallowed the last bite of the pancake fruit, drank the soy milk, and then walked towards his new territory. Bian Jinyuan had already spoken to his table mate yesterday. He had no opinion at the same table. After all, he used to think that he was sitting next to the first grade, and asked the first few questions from time to time, and his grades would surely soar. However, the cruel reality told him that it was wishful thinking to expect the first grade to have classmates. Bian Jinyuan is a fellow, only knowing that he is flying solo, and he doesn't want to fly others at all. Trust me and rely on yourself. Bian Jinyuan's tablemate patted Liu Yunfei on the shoulder, "You can rely on the schoolmaster. The sow can go up the tree." After hearing this, Liu Yunfei calmly took out his mobile phone, clicked on his Weibo, searched for keywords, and then showed it to the ex who transferred the territory with him. "I don't know if the schoolmaster is reliable, but the sow really it is possible to go up the tree, you see." Same table before. Now at the same table, Liu Yunfei, do you know which 4 words are contained in all the wisdom of mankind? Which 4? Wait and hope. The table mate before looked at him disapprovingly. Liu Yunfei patted him on the shoulder, "I didn't say it, Alexander Dumas said it, remember it, Chinese composition can be used." Same table before. The table mate in front moved silently next to Li Yuanqing, only feeling that he was in a very complicated mood. As soon as Liu Yunfei sat down in his seat, Bian Jinyuan came. Liu Yunfei looked at him and remembered that last night, he was not sure whether he was dreaming or not, and he was not sure whether what he saw was true. He looked at his tablemate and said kindly, "From today on, we will be at the same table." Bian Jinyuan let out an Lu Yunfei wanted to try him, but he didn't know how to try to make it less obvious. He held his chin with one hand, and after thinking and thinking, he was about to ask Bian Jinyuan when he heard the morning reading bell ring. The English teacher walked into the classroom on the bell and said to everyone, "Read today, let's dictate English words." Lu Yunfei? What is dictation? What word? What word? Lu Yunfei felt that his blood pressure had risen instantly. He turned his head to look at his desk mate, "Classmate Bian, do you remember that I helped you yesterday?" Of course Bian Jinyuan remembered, otherwise, he would not agree to sit at the same table with Lu Yunfei, but Lu Yunfei asked this sentence now. Bian Jinyuan turned to look at him, "What do you want to say?" Lu Yunfei pressed his arm, "Now, it's time for you to pay back." Bian Jinyuan raised his eyebrows. Lu Yunfei nodded calmly, "Yang Chuan reports the grace of dripping water, Yang Chuan, classmate Bian." Bian Jinyuan sighed helplessly. He felt that he seemed to know why Lu Yunfei's English was so bad. The English teacher walked around in the classroom, holding a book and dictating words, "Assume, proceed, and engage." Lu Yunfei took a gel pen and wrote on the notebook, "Undertake, wait, is E first or R first?" Lu Yunfei raised his head and quickly moved to Bian Jinyuan to take a look while the English teacher had just left. As soon as Bian Jinyuan finished writing a word, he saw his new desk mate poked his head over with thunder and jingle bells, and silently moved his notebook towards him. Lu Yunfei immediately gave him a thumbs up, "Good man. Good people are safe for their lives." He read Bian Jinyuan's words and made sure that he had not made a mistake, and then he heard the English teacher continue to listen and write, "Explore, investigate, and prospect." What the hell? Lu Yunfei didn't remember that he had memorized this word. He glanced at his tablemate, and sure enough, his tablemate had already written it out easily. Lu Yunfei looked at the other party's beautiful fonts, resisted the urge to plagiarize, and waited for the teacher to listen to write a word. When the students in the first row came to receive the English dictation just now, Bian Jinyuan was surprised to find that Lu Yunfei's paper was more than half empty. He asked after the first row of classmates left, "Did you just see it?" "Yes, I saw it." "You didn't copy?" "I'm not stupid." Lu Yunfei said calmly, lying on the table, "As far as my English score, I dictate full marks, do you think it is appropriate?" Bian Jinyuan felt that there was nothing inappropriate, "Then what did you say before?" "I just want to have the right answer with you." Lu Yunfei scratched his head, "I can't tell whether some words are R first or E first, so I keep changing them." "But you must be able to tell, I just want to be right with you." "Then do you usually recite words?" "Remember." Lu Yunfei said frankly, "Not only memorized but also silently wrote." "But it's useless, I can't remember it, I forgot it on the third day." "You should consolidate your memory more." "Do you think I don't have it? I just missed the consolidation review 3 times a day." Lu Yunfei shook his head, "You, like you, belong to the darkness during the day and don't understand the night, and the hungry people don't know if the hungry people are hungry during the day." Bian Jinyuan really didn't understand. His memory has been terrible since he was a child. When others were crying because they couldn't memorize ancient poems, he was able to memorize all the poems in a book. He is a born scholar, but Lu Yunfei is different. Lu Yunfei is a real scumbag in front of English. Before class today, let me talk about 2 things. First, 11th is coming soon. I know your hearts are all here, so I told you in advance today that this 11th holiday will start on Friday and will end on Friday. 3 days a week, and classes on Monday are normal. You have to know yourself in your second year of high school. Don't always think about vacations. The time available for study is running out. There was a wailing sound from the class. What's the difference between this 11 and not putting it? That's great. Li said, then you will come to class as usual this Friday. We shall not have this holiday. The student immediately shouted pitifully, don't, let it go, one day counts as one day. Li smiled, the second thing is that after the 11th holiday, the school will hold the autumn sports meeting on October 20th. Our class is a rocket class for science classes, and this sports meeting cannot be played by other classes. So I hope everyone can sign up, actively participate, and win honor for the class, understand? Clear. For this sports meeting, the sports committee is responsible for registration, supervision, and organization, with the assistance of other class committees. In this way, everyone will take out the papers. Today we will finish the remaining major topics of yesterday. Liu Yunfei took the paper out of his school bag, but saw Bian Jinyuan take out another paper. Liu Yunfei took a look. It wasn't the papers that the school asked to buy, so he bought other papers to clean up the questions. Liu Yunfei's fighting spirit came in an instant, and he took out his extracurricular test papers and started to study the questions. For science students, I don't know if the love of learning is done, but the results are all done. There are piles of paper corpses buried under the feet of every successful science champion. Liu Yunfei was peeking at Bian Jinyuan's progress while writing as if he was fascinated. When the get-out-of-class bell struck, Liu Yunfei was depressed to find that he was 2 questions behind Bian Jinyuan. Mistakes, really mistakes. Of course, Bian Jinyuan also noticed that his desk mate seemed to be competing with him. He glanced at Liu Yunfei, and Liu Yunfei confidently said, "What are you looking at? I can't do the problem." Bian Jinyuan didn't speak, only that he was quite lively. At the end of the day, Liu Yunfei realized that he had forgotten to test Bian Jinyuan unknowingly. Waiting for tomorrow, he thought, anyway, Bian Jinyuan was next to him and couldn't run away. However, what he didn't expect was that he soon saw Bian Jinyuan again. Liu Yunfei looked at the scene in front of him. It was still a familiar house, a familiar middle-aged woman, a familiar child, and a familiar Bian Jinyuan. The only unfamiliar one is probably the middle-aged man sitting opposite them. The man looked a little flat, drinking water while talking to the 3 mother and son in front of him. "It's just such a thing, what do you think of sister-in-law?" Bian Ji was holding the glass with embarrassment on her face. She was about to speak, and Bian Jinyuan next to her spoke first, "Second uncle, you also know the situation in our family. The 1,000 you should be paid back this month is already long. I got the card for you, and now you suddenly say let us give you 10,000 yuan, how can we have this money? Xiao Yuan, you can't say that. It is justified to pay off debts. Uncle just asked you to pay another 10,000. Repayment of debts is indeed justified. But when my aunt borrowed the money, everyone agreed and said that 2 years later, the IOU was written in this way. Then my uncle went, and you said that we should repay the money. We are considerate. It's okay. You can pay 1,000 in a month and pay it in 20 months. You agree. But now you say that we will give you 10,000 yuan first. How can we give it? Look at this, apart from the 3 of us in the house, which items can add up to 10,000, you just take them away. Xiao Yuan, adults speak, don't interrupt as a child, Zhang Jian said coldly. Liu Yunfei curled his lips silently, cut, this is obviously a failure. However, what Bian Jinyuan said just now, aunt? Liu Yunfei glanced at the woman holding the glass. Isn't this Bian Jinyuan's mother? How does Jinyuan live here? Where are his parents? As he was thinking, he heard Zhang Jian asking Bian Ji, sister-in-law, what do you think? I said you are a fool. Liu Yunfei said silently. But of course Bian Ji couldn't say that. She looked at her husband's brother, her voice was as soft as ever, Jian, it's not that we don't pay you back 10,000 yuan, but you also know the situation at home. Your eldest brother is here. At the time, I spent all my money to see a doctor, otherwise I can't ask you to borrow money. Now Xiao Yuan still has to go to school and Shuang also wants to go to kindergarten. My salary is only 3,000 yuan, and I can pay you back every month. A Fang paid back this 1,000 yuan. It was all earned by Xiao Yuan working after school. It's really not that I didn't give you the money, but now that the savings in the family add up, there is no 10,000. How can I give it? Zhang Jian persuaded, didn't I introduce a company to my sister-in-law before? The family is so difficult now, so you should stop letting Xiao Yuan go to school. If you work in that unit for a year, you will definitely earn more than it is now. That won't work. Bianji's tone rose. That is. Lu Yunfei agreed and asked Bianjin Yuan to drop out. There is a pit in your head. As far as his grades are concerned, the inconsistency is their top pick in the college entrance examination this year, and the future is just around the corner. At this time, persuading people to quit school, this uncle has no good intentions. Not a thing. Xiao Yuan has to go to school, no matter what the family is, he must go to school. Bianji said firmly. Lu Yunfei called her silently. Auntie was right, isn't it just money? The problem that can be solved with money is not a problem. He will borrow 180,000 yuan from Bianjin Yuan tomorrow to kill this uneasy and kind old thing. Bianjin Yuan frowned and said coldly, Second uncle, it's late, you go back first. Don't, since sister-in-law, you can't bear Xiao Yuan to drop out of school. Then so be it, Zhang Jian smiled. Children, they are all boys. It costs more money than. Before he finished speaking, before Lu Yunfei had time to scold him for shame, Bianjin Yuan stood up and directly poured the tea from his hand onto Zhang Jian's face. What are you doing? Zhang Jian exclaimed with a look of tea leaves, wiped his face. Bianji quickly covered both eyes. Bianjin Yuan glared at the person in front of him, his eyes full of coldness. Auntie, you and Shuang are in the room. Bianji has a soft temper, and has become accustomed to many things at home by his elder nephew who has taken care of him since he was a child, so he picked up both of them and walked into the bedroom inside. Zhang Jian stretched out his hand to stop her, but was caught by Bianjin Yuan. Bianjin Yuan dragged him and walked out the door. Zhang Jian angrily said, What are you doing? I tell you this is our Zhang family's business, don't interfere with you as an outsider, look at you like a junior. Bianjin Yuan stretched out his hand and pushed him backwards and knocked him on the table. Zhang Jian screamed in pain and cursed, Lao Tzu's waist. Just scrap your waist. After worrying about the small and unsuccessful ant, you think you are a pimp. Lu Yunfei could hardly wish to jump out and help Bianjin Yuan give this old guy a brutal beating. I don't look like a junior, so do you look like an elder now? Bianjin Yuan said angrily, My uncle has only been there for less than 3 months, so you are thinking about asking my aunt to remarry, you are not afraid of you brother is chilling when I hear it. I'm also doing this for your family's good, otherwise, how will the 3 of your mothers live, you find? You don't feel bad for saying this. Bianjin Yuan pulled him up and bumped him against the table again. Zhang Jian grinned. Just when he wanted to scold him, Bianjin Yuan pulled him to the door and pushed him out. You don't agree now, she will be with other people sooner or later, she's a woman. Bianjin Yuan closed the door with a bang. Zhang Jian slapped the door while shouting, She can't support the 2 of you at all. Your brother will go to elementary school next year, which is because it costs a lot. Bianjin Yuan opened the door and suddenly stretched out his fist at him. Zhang Jian was so frightened that he closed his eyes, but he didn't expect the pain. Fuck. Bianjin Yuan said coldly. You just want to go, sooner or later your aunt will have to remarry. If you want me to say, you are a broom star, you will kill your mother, and. Hearing the words, Bianjin Yuan raised his fist in anger. Zhang Jian stepped back timidly in an instant, did not dare to finish speaking, turned and walked out of the yard. Bianjin Yuan closed the door again and walked back to the sofa to sit down. He leaned on the back of the sofa, feeling a little tired for a while. Liu Yunfei looked at Bian Jinyuan not far away, feeling a little heavy. He sighed silently, thinking this was really fucking. Bian Jinyuan looked pretty good at school, studying well, looking good, teachers like it, and students like it. Why is the family like this and it's only poor? Why are there such unconscious relatives, such relatives? Should I be arrested? It simply destroys social harmony. As he was thinking, he saw Bian-ji lift the curtain and walked out of the bedroom. Bian Jinyuan saw her coming out, immediately cheered up and asked her, "Are Shuang scared?" "I was a little scared just now, but now I'm done." Bian-ji sat down beside him and sighed, "I'm sorry, Xiao Yuan, I'm useless, it's me." "You are not bad, you are already fine." Bian Jinyuan comforted her. Since the death of his mother, Bian-ji has played the role of mother. She and Zhang Feng took themselves into the house and took care of them like their own sons. Even with a double pair behind, they still treat him as their own. It's just that no one thought that Zhang Feng would fall ill. Bian-ji was under more pressure than anyone else. She wanted to make money, she had to take care of Zhang Feng, who was seriously ill, and she had to worry about her 2 children. At the busiest time, Bian Jinyuan saw her crying secretly in the dead of night, covering her face. So he skipped class and went out to find a job and started to work. Later, Bian-ji learned about it and hugged him and said to him, "You can't do this, you can't go to school, Xiao Yuan, you go to school well, can you think of a way for money matters?" She cried as she spoke. She was never a very strong person, soft and not assertive enough, but in Bian Jinyuan's view, she has always been a very good mother and a very kind woman. "Auntie, don't think too much." At the time, the IOU stated that the money should be paid after 2 years, so even if it goes to the court, it is our responsibility. Don't worry too much. Waiting for this winter vacation, I'll see if there is anything else I can do. If you do, try to return the money to them as soon as possible. When the money is returned, we will have nothing to do with them. That's your uncle's brother or sister, how can it be okay? Bian Jinyuan sneered, "My uncle wants to know the things his brothers and sisters did after he left, maybe I wish I didn't have these relatives at all." After he finished speaking, he sighed again and calmly said, "Auntie, don't think about what my second uncle said today. Of course you can marry someone else, but it must be what you like and be good to you, otherwise, if my uncle is alive in the sky, it will be uncomfortable. My second uncle is unreliable. Don't listen to what he said. If he comes to you for this matter in the future, you just say I disagree and let him come to me." Bian-ji nodded. She looked at her child who had been taking care of her since she was a child. She didn't know when the child who was still around her waist had grown so tall, and she spoke louder than herself. She smiled softly, "I won't promise him, don't worry. Then you go back and rest. You go to bed early too." "Good." Seeing that he had responded, Bian-ji got up and went back to the bedroom inside. Liu Yunfei looked at what happened in front of him, feeling a little distressed for Bian Jinyuan for no reason. "When I go to school tomorrow, I must try Bian Jinyuan to see if all of this is true. If it is true, then he will immediately take the money to kill the second uncle Bian Jinyuan. See if he dare to worry about it." He asked Bian Jinyuan to drop out of school, while thinking about making Bian Jinyuan his aunt to remarry. Not 3 months after the eldest brother went there, he persuaded his sister-in-law to remarry, and said that his nephew is a broom star, this is a man. Liu Yunfei snorted angrily and let out a ding. Bian Jinyuan turned his head in surprise, and saw the red Tmall elf on the table. With that ding, the indicator light flashed. He felt a little upset, so he said, "Tmall elf." Liu Yunfei immediately replied, "I am here. Play a song. What should I put at this time?" Liu Yunfei felt that this would test himself too much, he thought about it, and sang, "The big knife is cut on the heads of the devils." If it wasn't for the fear that Bian Jinyuan doubted himself, Lu Yunfei would have liked to sing for him. The big knife was cut on the second uncle's head. What devil is slashing? It's time for peace, so let's slash your second uncle first. Bian Jinyuan listened to the weird singing and said silently, change one. Don't like this kind of arrogance? Yes, Lu Yunfei turned to think about it. Bian Jinyuan probably is in a bad mood right now, so he has to sing a happy song. The mountain road here is 18 bends, and the waterway here is 9 chains. Change 1. I don't like this song either. Then, you are the most beautiful cloud in my heart, let me keep you with my heart, stay. Change 1. Lu Yunfei felt that it was really difficult for him to wait on him. Betrayed my love, you took a debt of conscience, and finally I knew the truth, and my tears fell. Bian Jinyuan sighed, this is indeed a mental retardation, so he shouldn't expect him to play a reliable song for himself at this time. You better rest, you are too stupid. You are stupid. I didn't sing these songs just to comfort you. Otherwise I won't sing it, okay? Lu Yunfei began to sing angrily, a bunch of those idiots he wears cool, you are that idiot, 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 idiot. Bian Jinyuan looked at the red Tmall elf not far away in disbelief, are you scolding me? Lu Yunfei calmly said, the German nursery rhyme Little Crocodile is playing right now, a bunch of cool stuff that he wears that's stupid. As he said, he started singing again. Bian Jinyuan laughed, what's the matter with your language system? I don't know English, but I can speak German. Great, Lu Yunfei said in his heart, brother can do anything except English. He was smug in his heart, and he didn't forget to sing, you are that stupid, stupid stupid stupid. Bian Jinyuan walked up to him speechlessly, change the song to London Bridge Ace falling down. Lu Yunfei. Lu Yunfei was silent for a second. Bian Jinyuan smiled happily, aren't you very capable? You have the ability to sing. Damn it! Compete with a Tmall wizard, you are not naive. Lu Yunfei opened his mouth and came, London Bridge is going to fall down, fall down, fall down. London Bridge is going to fall down, my beautiful lady. Bian Jinyuan, how can this be converted to Chinese again? Before he could react, Lu Yunfei sang again, a bunch of those idiots he wears are cool. Bian Jinyuan, shut up, you. Lu Yunfei, this question is too difficult, it's rare that I'm separated. I said, you can rest instead of singing. Okay. Lu Yunfei PK Bian Jinyuan, in the first game, Lu Yunfei won. Lu Yunfei secretly said. Bian Ji lowered the curtain and returned to the room with a chuckle, lying on the bed, puzzled, Mom, where is the Tmall elf? Shuang won't play with the Tmall elf today, okay? Bian Ji hugged him and coaxed, brother is playing with the Tmall elf, can you leave it to your brother? Shuang nodded very obediently, brother also likes Tmall elves. Yes. Then play with brother, and mother tell me stories. Okay. Bian Ji pulled the blanket over him and lay down holding him. Bian Jinyuan was so troubled by Lu Yunfei that his previous boredom had long since disappeared. He took out his unfinished homework and quickly worked on the questions. When Lu Yunfei woke up in his own home the next day, he was very calm. He finished washing step by step. While rejoicing that he had done his homework early yesterday, he wondered if he spent this way at Bian Jinyuan's house every night, then, wouldn't he not be able to go home too late in the future? So why did you wear it in the Tmall elves of Bian Jinyuan's home? Lu Yunfei didn't understand. Li Yuanqing still brought him breakfast. Today's is Hu spicy soup, so Lu Yunfei urged the driver to say, Uncle Li, hurry up, I have to finish breakfast before the teacher comes. Li Shu immediately stepped on the accelerator and drove to the school 15 minutes earlier than usual. When Lu Yunfei was halfway through his spicy soup, Bian Jinyuan came and was taken aback when he saw his breakfast. Lu Yunfei took a spoon and asked him, do you want to eat? You better eat quickly, I saw Teacher Li go upstairs. Liu Yunfei quickly accelerated. 3 minutes before Li came in, he ate the spicy soup and threw the box into the trash can. He deliberately tried being genuine, so he sang yogurt while saying, "A bunch of those idiots, he wears cool." When Bien Genuine heard him sing this song, he turned his head to look at him in shock. "How are you?" Liu Yunfei looked at him innocently, and blinked pretendingly. "What's the matter?" Bien Genuine also felt that he had overreacted. "It's nothing, it's just that the song sounds..." He didn't finish his words, but the meaning was already obvious. Liu Yunfei smiled and said, "This is a nursery rhyme. My cousin came to my house yesterday and was singing it all the time. I thought it was quite fun, so I just remembered it and didn't mean anything else." "I know," Bien Genuine said. He just didn't expect that he had just been popularized the song last night, and now he would hear it again. It's all because of their artificial mental retardation, which is so stupid. "You know?" Liu Yunfei asked, "Have you heard of it?" "Okay. Where did you listen to it? Is there a recommended playlist for that kind of funny nursery rhymes?" Liu Yunfei asked. "Which music app? Let me download it." Bien Genuine didn't know which app he could hear the song on, and he didn't know that it was a trap that Liu Yunfei dug him, so he casually said, "I listened to Tmall Genie, and its data was taken from I don't know which music app." When Liu Yunfei heard the words, the dust settled instantly. So, what he saw in the past 2 days is true. He really wears it to the Tmall elf at Bien Genuine's house every night. What kind of fate is this? Did he owe Bien Genuine in his previous life? Liu Yunfei looked at his desk mate and sighed. Bien Genuine thought he was worried because he didn't know which music app he was downloading from, and reminded him, "You open all the apps and search one by one, and there must be some that can be downloaded." "Do I worry about downloading?" Liu Yunfei said in his heart, "What I worry about is what kind of fate is between you and me. What is the relationship between us in the last life, dear?"